Friends, this is probably one of the only times you will ever see me do a video like this because of what's about to happen in the US with Hurricane Florence. They're saying that this could be one of the worst storms in US history. They say something like 40 inches of rain and it's going to slam into the East Coast. Hopefully it doesn't, but it looks like that's the case. Full disclosure, I'm going to talk to you about the news, but I am going to present to you a product that I've never promoted before. It's emergency food supply, but I don't want to feel like anyone's being deceived by this video. I am not what you would call a prepper by any means, but if you're familiar with my channel, I have talked about emergency situations because I have covered conflict and crisis. I have been to places where people are worried about when they will be able to eat. I have been to places where the internet didn't work. Strangely, I've been to places where the internet shouldn't work but did and was able to play video games, but that's besides the point. We've got a major storm barreling down upon us, and I think too many people don't take these things seriously enough. Admittedly, some people take them much too seriously, but this is serious, and I believe it's very likely this storm is going to result in a potential. I think there might be a significant loss of life here. What I want to do is I want to talk to you about the news stories, how severe they are, and then I want to talk to you about things you should do to protect yourself. Okay, so first, let's just go for the news. Harvey of the East Coast, Florence's worst impact could be catastrophic deadly flooding. Although the focus on where Hurricane Florence makes landfall is drawing lots of attention, another looming threat could be the worst impact of this monster storm, disastrous deadly flooding from days of relentless rain. It appears a major flood event is on the way in the middle Atlantic region, meteorologist Mike Smith said. It is likely some areas will flood that have never flooded before. When Harvey hit, okay, I've actually covered two, I believe I've covered one hurricane. I've been in two hurricanes. And when flooding hits, it is devastating. A lot of people don't seem to understand that you could find yourself trapped. We've seen the videos, rescues, they calm people on their rooftops. You need to realize, I think it's really annoying for me, the way the television depicts people who are preppers. Yes, there are some people who go and buy ridiculous supplies because they think the apocalypse is coming. But because of this embarrassment and stigma, people don't do basic things. Do you have a first aid kit? You should definitely go get one. If you're in the affected area, please go and get a first aid kit if you do not have one. Read up online about how to do basic things, tourniquets, how to apply gauze, just generally bandage. Just look up general survivability techniques and things like this. I know so many people, they laugh about this stuff. It's like they're really excited the storm's going to come. I know young people who think it's going to be exciting. But this, when you're actually faced with these disasters, when the roads are gone, submerged, then we start seeing people, really panic. And I think anybody who takes this stuff too lightly, you shouldn't. And I will say this too, for the people who are, admittedly, I think right now a lot of people understand the severity of what's about to happen. They will go to the store and have no problem buying what they need to buy. But when I made a video talking about how I actually have MREs, right? That's meal ready to eat. I have emergency food. I actually just purchased more emergency food. Where I'm at, we're not going to get hit by the worst part of the storm, but we are going to get hit by some of it. I think it's downright silly and absurd to not have emergency food and water and power. All right, we have Band-Aids. How often do you use a Band-Aid? Not that often. Okay, but we still have them because you might need them. We have bandages. We have first aid kits. The same should be true for food. I think too many people are embarrassed because of the way the prepper community is portrayed on TV as these kind of like whack-a-loon sovereign citizen nut jobs, and that's a disservice to people. Our cities are getting bigger and bigger. There's more and more people, and it's very difficult to get food into these cities. People are boarding up windows. We understand what's about to happen, and it's likely that even the prep that people do isn't going to be enough. I would say right now, there's probably a lot of people watching who know full well how when people get embarrassed by this idea of buying emergency food and supplies, they're mocked. They're regularly mocked. I mean, people who watch Alex Jones are mocked for buying this emergency supply kits, and I'm like, but then when the hurricane is announced, people panic, okay? So I don't think people should go overboard, but I think it's absolutely rational to have at least some emergency food for you, your friends, and your family. If you've got family members that are saying they don't think they need it, aren't going to do it, and you have the means, you should probably get some extras just in case, because look, it's, the way I explain to people is it a lottery ticket you want to buy? If the chances are ridiculously slim that you are stranded without food, is it still a chance you want to take, or should you spend $100 and make sure that you have a couple weeks of food in the event of a real disaster? What people aren't talking about right now, they mentioned this in the article, a lot of people are talking about, high winds, There's going to be storm surge, right? The wind is going to push water up and areas are going to flood. But the rain, I mean, look at the eye of this right here. It's gray. I don't even know what that means. But that is going to bring what they're estimating up to 40 inches, which means outside of the storm surge, you're going to have flooding. People are going to get trapped. And think about this too, even if you know you can survive, my first aid kit isn't just for me. My first aid kit is for everyone. If something happens and I'm okay, I will use that first aid kit to help other people. And when I've gone out into the field and cover stuff like this, I do. There's a reason why I don't usually talk about this stuff is because I don't want to be alarmist. I don't want people to feel like, the end is nigh and do any of the crazy stuff, but we really are looking at a major catastrophe heading our way. And it would be silly not to prepare for this in some way. So look, go to Lowe's, talk to friends and family, research online, figure out what you need to get. Watching this video is a good start because it is better to be safe than sorry. I sincerely urge everybody in the affected area, overestimate to a full order of magnitude. Buy an extra first aid kit. All right, do more than you think you need to do, because if we can act now. We know the storm's coming. We can act now and do our best to mitigate the damage. And I think the most important thing we can do is make sure people are safe. Your buildings, your homes, these things might get destroyed. You can still prepare to take care of that, right? People buy those sandbags and anti-flooding systems. But please make sure you are safe first and foremost. If that means evacuating, evacuate. If that means buying an extra first aid kit, do it. Emergency food, do it. They say all indications are that the storm will slow down and just crawl or meander over the inland sections of the coastal Piedmont. Weather Channel hurricane expert Brian Necross said, "We don't know exactly where the center will go, but it's not really relevant. It's more like a Hurricane Harvey situation, where it'll just slowly wind down." And that is really, really bad for one simple reason. When the rain passes over you, it eventually goes away. Your region is safe. But if the storm slows down, it's going to dump rain relentlessly on key areas. All right, this is really important. We can see that, look, 20 inches in some areas near what looks like Wilmington, North Carolina. Last year, Harvey made landfall north of Corpus Christi, Texas, then stalled over the Houston area, dropping as much as 5 feet of rain across the metro area. It will be worse than a Harvey in the sense that the terrain is not like Houston, which is flat. If you put 2, 3, 4 feet of rain over flat ground, you have a certain kind of problem. But if you put a foot or two, or maybe in some isolated places more, of rain over hills and mountains, you have a very different kind of problem, which is really more dangerous than the flat situation, as bad as that was. And now I'm going to go straight into it because I warned you full up at the beginning. I don't want you to feel deceived. I am going to show you a product that was presented to me by a sponsor. So this is preparewithtim.com. And this was made by a company called Patriot Supply, where they sell emergency food supplies. For those in the affected areas, I do not know if you will actually be able to get this stuff in time, but I thought it would be really important to, like I mentioned, man, there's too many people who are embarrassed and think it's silly. But when we see a storm like this coming, and we have a hurricane season every year, it's simple, okay? You should think about this stuff, because a 2-week emergency food supply is no different from having a first aid kit, having some kind of antimicrobial ointment for injuries. This should be considered the same as a fire extinguisher, in my opinion. So they designed this website a long time ago. I never used this because I'm not somebody who typically, I don't know, it's not really my thing. But I'm thinking about what we saw with Harvey and what we're about to see with Florence, and I thought this would be this is when it makes sense, right? They included this quote for me: "It's hard to imagine an event so catastrophic we would actually be without food or water, but just because the chances seem low doesn't mean we shouldn't prepare." Again, don't be embarrassed. I know a lot of people think it's silly to buy things like this. You shouldn't. Don't let other people stifle your chance at survival. I'm also not saying you need to buy 100 cases or anything like that, like the world is going to end and you build a bunker. I'm just saying, look, man, having a 2-week emergency food supply when we know these disasters happen makes a ton of sense. That the site I put together, I never want to be alarmist. I don't want people to feel like, run out the door, the end is coming, or anything crazy like that. But they do highlight the Houston flooding from Hurricane Harvey. And people were stranded in their homes, and the food you have will only last so long. So it really does make sense. This is a 2-week emergency food supply. It's got a 25-year shelf life. They've got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They've got actually a bunch of different kinds, and it's $75. You can order 2. If you go to preparewithtim.com, I'll put the link in the description. You will probably never see me do a video like this again. Rarely. I might do this once a year because as much as you all who watch my channel know that I have no problem with capitalism. I don't like exploitative. I don't like people feeling like it's an exploit. You know, like I'm trying to capitalize upon a disaster. But the conundrum I faced was a couple days ago. I was asked if I would promote this company with the storm coming, and I decided I didn't want to do it because I don't want to be like, I don't want to tell people, hey, you should buy this, the storm's coming. But I realized that was probably a mistake. When they started talking about how the storm was going to get really severe, I felt like there's probably going to be people who aren't prepared and are going to need things like this. And if I had done this video a couple days ago when the storm wasn't as bad and people were saying it was going to spin out, and I was like, I'm not going to do this video if they're saying the storm's going to spin out. I do not want to be alarmist. But now I feel bad because I feel like if I did this sooner, maybe people who live in the affected areas could have got something to help them before we knew it was going to happen. And that's always the challenge. You know, if you follow my work and my videos, I don't normally do stuff like this. But trust me when I say I really do believe this is a good thing to have. And I personally ordered some of this, okay? I do have emergency food. I have been to conflict zones. I have been in hurricane zones. I was in New York after Sandy when the power was out and people were standing outside of corner markets with 2x4s because they had no electricity and they were trying to protect what little food they had left. They were selling. You know, people were coming in single file lines to buy food. But I've seen a city when the power goes out and how they try and bring stuff in when there's no gasoline, there's lines out the doors. You know, outside of this, you should go and fill up gas, right, while you still can. Evacuate if you have to evacuate. And if you're in an affected area and there's no evacuation order, definitely do what you can. If that means going to the supermarket, buying as much canned goods as possible, I think you should do it. And, you know, I'll end by saying this. Look, I just want to be completely transparent and honest with you guys. Some of you who follow me on the Discord channel and have watched my videos before, you know that this company, my Patriot Supply, has offered to sponsor my channel in this way before, and I've never done it because I don't like, I'm a social liberal, right? I still believe in capitalism, but I've got scruples. However, in this instance, I genuinely do believe this is something important you should have. You know, it's $75. Maybe that's not something everybody can afford, but like I said, you know, we have first aid kits, we have Band-Aids. Put this in put this in a cool, dry place. It can store up to 25 years, and you don't got to worry about it. You buy it one time. All right. We got a hurricane coming, and I'm really, really worried, man. I'm really worried about people. When they mentioned the hurricane, I thought, yeah, you know, we'll probably get a bad storm. I was in Virginia when Irene hit. It was a Category 1, and it wasn't that bad. But now they're saying it's going to linger. It's going to be worse than Harvey, the rain, the flooding. And the flooding is what gets you. The wind can knock stuff down, but that flooding is going to lock down roads. It's going to trap people. And I am genuinely worried that, you know, there's going to be people left in really bad situations. So we know it's coming. I don't know what they're saying, but if it can spin out still, but hopefully we dodge this one. But I don't think that's the case. I think they're pretty definitive right now. I'll end with this one last bit. We've got... Hurricane Florence prompts a military to scramble assets along the Atlantic coast. So look, the U.S. government is taking this seriously. They've directed nearly 30 ships to steam away from the Hampton Roads area of southeastern Virginia, home to Naval Station Norfolk. Florence is forecast to make landfall in North Carolina late Thursday as a major hurricane and subject the region to high winds and heavy rains. Please, if you live in the affected area, overestimate everything. It is hard every day to deal with the nonsense of the political culture war, but it's much, much worse to hear about the loss of life. Okay, so I hope anybody who's in the area, you take this very, very seriously. And I would much prefer a bunch of hardcore prepper, doomsday, type people buying the supplies they need and not having to use it, as silly as the TV makes it sound, than to hear a bunch of regular, people living in their homes were trapped, starved, got sick, were injured, or even died. Like, it's better to be silly and made fun of than it is to be in a seriously dangerous situation. And I hope everyone the best. Please stay safe. Thanks for watching. If this is something you feel you need, the link will be in the description below, preparewithtim.com. If you're in any way upset with me for promoting emergency food supplies, I understand. It's not something I have scruples about this kind of stuff too. But believe me when I say I'm being genuinely honest, that I think it's something important you should consider for your family, for your friends, for your mom, your dad. I personally have this stuff too, okay? I'm not just saying that, I literally do, right? So please stay safe and stick around, because I will have some more videos that are not about a catastrophe, an impending storm. So stick around.